Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Late Night Show with Dr. Kojo. I am your host, Kojo Sarfo, checking in from sunny Los Angeles, California. Never mind the fact that it's a late night show, but I'm checking in from sunny Los Angeles, California. And before I trip over my words, I would love for you all to go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat. Let me know where you're checking in from, and then we'll get into this topic. This is a topic that people have asked me, to shed light on this, but I had a conversation with one of my friends recently, and it sparked this live. I'm like, all right, it's time. So we're gonna get into it. But before we get into it, I need to see where everybody's checking in from. Lacey, what's going on? Kendra, what's up? We got Rachel from Kansas City. I hope you're not a Chiefs fan. We got Kathy from Salt Lake City. What's up, Kathy? We got Janessa. That's a nice name, from Orange County, California. Okay, so we're like neighbors. We got Rhode Island in the house. Eliana, that's a nice name too. We got Becky. I like that name as well, from Portland, Oregon. Alejandra from San Antonio, Texas. Brayden from Oklahoma. Melrose Hills, California. Catherine. Got Jenny from Indiana. What's up, Jenny? I see Columbia, South Carolina in the house. Okay. We got love from the Philippines. Wow, this is my first time seeing somebody from the Philippines. That's exciting. British Columbia. Okay, so we got Canada in the house, Connecticut, and Long Island. All right. Hey, YouTube love. Ace from Georgia. I'm kind of new to your channel, but I really like. Hey, well, I like the fact that you like the channel, and I hope you stick around. Grand Rapids. Okay, so we have people checking in from all over the world, right? Philippines, Canada, United States. So, let's go ahead and talk about it. Three things. I got three things for y'all. These are my tips. This is not the law or anything, but this is what I would tell anybody to do to mentally prepare for a relationship. And before I get into it, let me tell you how this thing came about. So I was talking to one of my friends. He's having an issue with his girlfriend, right? And then he called me up. And I think he was looking for me to agree with him. Normally I'm a guy, right? So, I probably will take the guy's side. And plus, as my friend, like his girlfriend, I like her because he's dating her, but I don't know her. I know him, right? And as he was telling me about what was going on, I'm like, you know what? I think your girlfriend is right. If you're dating her, if this is a real relationship, if y'all are talking, you're trying to get to know her, that's different. But if this is a real relationship, I think she's right. There's certain things that you kind of have to do in a relationship, right? Not that you have to do it, but if you've you formally ask somebody out and you want to build a life with them, then your priorities, your priorities and their priorities, you have to come together and figure out what works for the two of y'all, right? It's not just you. You cannot be as selfish as you once were when you're single, when you're in a relationship, right? So when you talk about priorities and mental health and things that we have to get done, it can kind of get a little dicey, right? So I was like, bro, I gotta agree with her. If you're dating her, this is your girlfriend, things are a little bit different than when y'all were just talking here and there, right? So without further ado, let me get into it. Let me see what Ben is saying. I'm excited about this topic because I burnt out all my previous partners and I've been dumped 8 times. Wow. As a result, I've been single for 10 years. Well, Ben, I'm going to do my best to help you out. I'm going to do my best to help you out, and we'll get you right. Literally working through this with my boyfriend. Hey, we're going to get you straight today. Jessica, I appreciate that. And Carolyn is saying, so single. All right, let's get into it. The very first tip, right? Let me put it in the chat. You know how I like to put the tips in the chat. I need a Hyperman. Okay, looks like I don't know how to spell the word boundaries. Okay, all right, I got it in. All right, someone said, "Is this sex?" Trust me. People have good sex and still break up. So, but anyway, number one is know your boundaries, right? So this is for single people who one day you want to be in a relationship. You have to know what your boundaries are before you hop into the relationship. This is very important for a couple of different reasons, right? If you do not know what your boundaries are, number one, it's going to be hard for you to stand for yourself. Number two, you're gonna catch yourself on this like roller coaster wave of emotions, right? Where you catch yourself doing something that you're not comfortable doing, but you're like, oh, I guess it'll be all right. I kind of like this person, and I think they're cool. So like, I guess it'll be okay, right? You need to know what you will and won't do, right? And the ironic thing is that relationships work well when you have what communication and compromise. But there's certain things that you may not want to compromise on, and you need to know that before you get into the relationship, right? Now, what are some examples of this? Like, you all help me out, in the comment section. Let me know what are some things that you will not compromise in a relationship, right? I'm trying to think about um, myself. What's one thing I won't compromise sleep. I won't compromise, my brand and what I do. Like, imagine me meeting a girl and she's like, "Oh, I don't want you to post on social media anymore." I'm like, all right, like I'll talk to you never, right? There's certain things that you won't do, and it's good to know those things before hand. Uh, Let me see what you all's boundaries are. All right, what are you all's boundaries? What are the things that you won't do? Regardless of whether you're single or in a relationship. Like I'm actually curious. I want to know what people's boundaries are. My job and my freedom, that makes sense, right? Like, your freedom is important and your job is how you make your money. um I won't give up my cat. I've been asked, well, McFadden, you should never give up your cat. Like if you want to keep your cat, right? Because you could give up your cat, right? And then you get with your partner and then y'all break up after 11 months and then your cat's gone, right? You didn't want to let go of your cat. You see what I'm saying? um I will not compromise on being heard. Yeah, yeah, that's definitely um important. No exes. Okay, I don't know what the context is, but I mean, obviously, yeah, like if you're dating somebody, you shouldn't be like involved with your ex. Okay, don't ask me to give up my work. It's something I love. I'm the same way. I can't give up my work. Um, Set boundaries of finances is huge. I want to say money is one of the main reasons why people divorce. I won't leave my kid. I respect that. Especially if you're a parent, right? If you're a mother or father, that's important. Um, Let me see. My close relationship with my family. That's something that I would not compromise on this as well. I completely agree. Veronica, I appreciate the comment. Thank you so much. Uh, um, have to have a pet. Okay, well, pets are important, right? Like whenever like you're moving into somewhere new, right? Sometimes they'll say pets allowed or no pets allowed. Pets are a big deal. Like it's a big lifestyle adjustment just to have a pet. So I could see how somebody comes in and they're like, "Oh, Jen, I like you, but like you have to get rid of your rat, not rat. Um, well, maybe you have a rat. Maybe you have a gerbil or dogs are probably the most popular thing, but you don't have to do something that you don't want to do. That's something that's important for people in a relationship too. I would say, don't do things that you want. Don't do things that you don't want to do, regardless of if you're single, engaged, whatever. You should never do things that you don't want to do. I won't move out of Florida. Okay. Teresa says if you want to date her, you cannot get her to move out of Florida, right? So if somebody wants to date Teresa and they're like, we're gonna move to Dubai, and you'll never have to work again, and you'll live the best life of all time. Teresa says, "No, I'm gonna stay in Florida." She says she'd rather be in Jacksonville than Dubai. That's just a joke, by the way. But like on a serious note, maybe Teresa, maybe your family lives in Florida, right? Maybe your parents are there, and your siblings. So if that's important to you when you meet somebody, you should never compromise on that. And I completely, um, you know, uh, agree with that. So it's respect. Yeah, if you have a rat and you don't let go of the rat, you should not let go of the rat. I will not compromise on open communication or the fact that I'm poly. And I, this is something that you would want to talk about this before you get into a relationship, right? But yeah, this is something that you definitely have to talk about, right? If you're poly and you see multiple people and that's just how you roll, then you shouldn't have to like break that for one person, right? Like if that's your boundary, then that's your boundary, right? All right. And one of my boundaries is don't ask for a boundary if you can't apply the same boundary to me. Ah, Martha, this made my head spin, but like after I read it, I got it. Pets are responsibility. Some people are allergic to them. Yeah, Joshua, I agree. But if one person's allergic to a pet and the other person loves pets, you're gonna have to figure out how to compromise, right? So that may not work. I'm not saying that it won't work, but I'm just depending on what's going on. It may not work, right? And the next uh, thing to do while you're single to prepare for a relationship. Number two, right here. I want you to practice good communication. Leilani, what's going on? How you doing? I want you to practice good communication, right? So this is, I don't know where to rank this, but this is probably one of the most important things in any relationship. You and your boss, you and your wife or your husband, you and your child, you and your neighbor, you and your roommate. Communication is so important because without communicating what's going on, you could be like your mind is gonna naturally try and fill in the gaps, right? You don't know what's going on, so you're gonna have to assume something. We always kind of need a why for everything. So it's important to practice good communication while you're single before you get into a relationship, right? Because if you're dating somebody and you plan to spend an extended period of time with them, if not like, the rest of your life, you have to know how to communicate with that person, right? So a good way to practice this is by starting to work on your communication skills with all the people in your life, right? If it's your parents, talk to them, figure out a way for you all to work out issues, right? If it's you and a coworker, right? You're having issues, work on communication with them. Figure out, okay, what are some of the gaps that we need to fill in? How are we not, getting things solved, right? Like, are you holding back? Am I holding back, right? Knowing how to communicate, it's a great way to problem solve, right? You can't be with somebody and not, well, you can be with somebody and not communicate effectively, but I bet you $5 that you'll have a lot of issues, right? Because how are you going to solve it, right? Like, even if you're long distance relationship, like back in the day with long distance relationships, people would write letters, right? You write like a long letter, my love, blah blah, and you send it, and then 3 weeks later you get like a reply back. At least you're communicating, right? Whether it's written or oral or verbal, you still have to know how to communicate with somebody, right? And let me see. I'm a healthy communicator now because my mother wasn't growing up. Well, respect. I like how you've reframed the situation, and you made a point. You made it a point to learn how to communicate effectively. That's really good. Um, Laisha says this is my number one. Without communication, no relationship will work. Yeah, I agree. Laisha, I think you said it perfectly. Like family, work, love, it won't work. And for me, it's frustrating if like I'm trying to communicate with somebody on some level and you can't like we can't do anything. So it takes two for a relationship to work. So it could, like, if one person, I think Chris Rock has a bit about that. If only one person is working on it, it can't work. It's kind of like I think his joke is something about like two people moving the couch. It's fairly easy, but one person moving it is going to be pretty hard, right? You can still move it, but like it's going to be like lopsided because I'm coming from this angle and there's no other person on the other side, right? So you want to know how to communicate, right? Open. So Mecca took it a step further. I like what Mecca said. Mecca said open and honest communication. Mecca had to open it wide up. Like when you talk about communication, you have service level communication, right? But you have open and honest communication, and this is where it helps to have people around you who are not judgmental, right? I think, like when you talk about you know being better socially, right? Like we've all kind of been stuck in the house for the past year and a half, right? So we're kind of learning how to go back out there and talk to people once again. So when it comes to communicating with people, you're going to be more likable if you're non-judgmental, right? Like if you have a smile on your face, you're going to be more approachable. But if you're walking around and like you're looking down and you're like you're mean mugging everybody, like people won't be as open to come and talk to you, right? But if you're approachable, non-judgmental, then you'll have strangers come up to you and tell you things that they can't tell people who like they're close to, So having that spirit, that's a good thing to take into a relationship. So I like what Mecca said. Like she took it to the next level. I really really like that. And Rainy says, I've become a better communicator since my divorce than I was before, even more so since my TBI. I needed to learn new ways to express my thoughts. Um, I like I like this. I like this. I really like that. And then Melissa takes it a step further. Melissa says, beyond communication is transparency. I need transparency. So this is also important as well. But this is I want to say it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, right? And in order to have transparency, Melissa, I'm just gonna put it out there. You need to create an environment where the other person can be transparent, and likewise, they should do that for you, right? Because if that person, let's say uh, the perfect example. So not like intimate relationships, but parent child, right? Like we have the whole scenario where like I know we all see videos about this, and if not, I've seen tons of videos about this where a parent will be like making jokes, about like the LGBT community and saying that oh, gay people are like this, gay people are like that, and they may have a child who's like who identifies with that community, but they're struggling to come out because their parents like openly say things that are hurtful to that community, right? So how would the child ever come out and tell the parents that they're part of that community if every time you're with your parents, they're making jokes, right? Backhanded types of comments, right? They've not created an environment where that person can be transparent, right? So I know it's not like intimate relationship, but still that's a relationship, parent and child, right? So we all have to work to create an environment for the other person where they can be open and honest. But Melissa, I do like what you said. Like transparency is needed, right? Like if you're gonna keep secrets, a relationship is probably not the place to do that. And Mickey says, me, I was that child, right? So a lot of people have had that experience, and I can imagine that it really must suck, to not be able to tell your parents that. But even then, I do believe that there's people who you'll come across in life who maybe either have shared experiences or a professional, somebody you can talk to, so that way you don't have to be like alone. Ooh, this is so. Paige says, how does an anxious attachment and an avoidant attachment make communication happen effectively? Ooh. So y'all hit me with the good questions today, which is why I like to hop on. And so check it out. From what I understand about the attachment styles, like the anxious and the anxious attachment uh, individual and the avoidant individual, like you're kind of like a match made in heaven. Like the anxious wants to avoid it, and the avoidant, so that's why you see a lot of relationships like that. But in this type of relationship, any improvement in communication goes a long way, right? Because the person who's avoidant, like just by their nature, it can be hard to communicate. So any little bit of progress is going to be very helpful. But I want to say this is where the anxious person, this is where it's important to set your boundaries, right? Because a lot of times, if you're anxious and the person who's avoidant, like most people, not most, but a lot of people who are on the avoidant side of things, if you're anxious and you're like, I want to leave the relationship, the avoidant person is, all right, okay, sure. It sucks to see you go, right? So it's tough to enforce your boundaries, when the other person, not saying that they couldn't care less, but that's just kind of how they are, right? So any little bit of improvement, but you have to like put your foot down and say, hey, in order for this, relationship to work, I know you don't communicate a lot, or you're not. That might not be like the thing that you're best at, but like just do it a little bit. Like you need a little bit, right? A match made in disaster. You've been there, Melissa. Melissa did not have a good time at all. And Elaine, what's up? Elaine's a TikTok OG. Elaine, yeah, for sure. I definitely understand this. We talked about this on TikTok. Like I'm more so avoidant, if anything. Like I'm not an asshole. I'm just I just like my way of doing things, right? But that's an opportunity for me to grow, right? Like I'm not gonna be able to have a beautiful wife and have 7 kids and move to a big house in Nashville and retire unless I can work on my own on my own stuff. So yeah. It's good to see Elaine out here. It's good to see Elaine out here. Let me see what Catherine says. She always has good comments. I feel like we inherently know we need transparent communication, but the fear of manipulation or not getting the desired outcome from the conversation. Right. And it's funny because yesterday I talked about it's a strength to not be outcome based, right? So somebody was saying something about, oh, don't feel like you have to save your 3 million followers in mental health. Take care of yourself. And I said, no, I put this information out, and after that, I go live my life. I'm about to go watch the Celtics and the Warriors. I'm going to live my life, right? I would hope that people take the information and say, oh, I'm going to better myself. But like, I can't lose sleep at night wondering if people will, like, I can't be dependent on the outcome. So I just put it out there, and I continue to live my life. I do the best that I can. Elaine, yeah, yeah. Look, there's always a room for improvement, right? I think if anybody said that there's nothing that they can work on or improve, not that you should run away, but like that's not realistic, right? That's like very limited thinking. If there's nothing that you can improve on, like what do you mean there's nothing that you can improve on, right? Joshua got a good comment right here. A lot of Black families shame homosexuality. Homosexuality comes with mental blocks and depression. Ask your kids if they're okay, because it's always something that's the underlying effect. So, Josh, this is a really, really good comment. This is a good comment right here. And it's an issue that we have in the Black community. I'm sure other communities have this, but in the Black community, it's like it runs deep, and it's tough because like these kids, like what do we know about like LGBTQ plus mental health? If I didn't say that right, somebody let me know. But what we know that like sometimes they have high rates of depression. The suicide rate could be higher for them. They have a lot of silent struggles. So sometimes parents, like people, like kids engaging in self harm, all this stuff, and parents would be confused, like, oh, why is my child doing this, right? And the child is like trying to like come out to their parent, or maybe the child is trying to bring like their same-sex partner home, and then like that your mom is going to flip out, right? So that can be a very isolating feeling. Thank you for putting that comment in there, Josh. I know it's in our community, right? Black family, yeah. So we have a lot to work on in our community, and I'll do my best to get there, right? Yeah, I'll do my best to get there. Jason, I appreciate you. Red flag. Yeah, like that was a red flag. And ooh, ooh, ah, y'all asking some good questions. But once again, this is why I love to come on here every night. How do you have a relationship when you have different political views? And all right, this is in my opinion, I think it could work if let's say Kathy, you're dating a guy and let's say you're Democrat and the guy's Republican, right? If you I mean there's different parties, right? But if you're like, all right, I feel this way and this is how I feel, I'm gonna vote for my guy or my lady, depending on who's running. I'm voting for my person every 4 years. And then your boyfriend or husband is like, I'm voting for my person every 4 years. If you all can respect each other's opinions, right? And you can understand where you're coming from, it could work. I know a couple of people who they're in relationships, marriages where they vote differently every 4 years or every 2 years, depending on what's going on. But with the way the country's heading, a lot of people like politics is so divisive. There's a reason why you'll see me come on here and talk about politics. Like, whenever the next election year is, like, I'm not looking forward to that. Like, I want no parts of it. Like, it's so exhausting. But if you can make it work, Kathy, hats off to you, But I think, no, not that I think. I know we have a problem in this country about being able to respect other people with different opinions. I'm not saying that like the people here watching the stream have an issue, but I think by and large we kind of struggle to do this as a country. So it's quite tough. And Elaine says it can work as long as the person. Right, I agree. But then we have to find two people who are like okay with doing this, right? Because politics gets like super nasty. All right, and the third thing that is good to do while you're single to prepare yourself for a relationship. And I'm happy that I put this one here because, when I did a little bit of research before, coming up with these three things, and I don't want to have too many, I didn't see any articles talk about this. Nobody mentioned this at all. Nobody mentioned this at all. So this is the third one. I gotta type it in here. I should copy and paste it. So put it in my phone. All right, but this is the third thing. So if you're single and you're trying to figure out how to mentally prepare yourself for a relationship. This is the third thing right here. Right. I want you to understand that your future partner will change, and they'll change a lot, right? So if you understand this, then as you're like single and like you're preparing for, okay, like whenever I do meet that person, this is what I'm gonna do, this is how I'm gonna like work things out. I want you to be flexible, right? Like the person that you get, like let's say for people watching now, you start dating somebody in a month from now, July 2022. By July 2023, that person will be a whole new person, you know. And if you fall in love with somebody like at that stage, and as they evolve, you're not prepared for that, then you might feel like the person is switching up on you. No, like that's how life is. Like that person will change a lot. Like everybody, like I look back to last year. You can ask Elaine. Ask Elaine. Elaine's an OG, right? She's been watching me on TikTok Live since what 2019, right? Elaine from 2019 to 2020, and from 2020 to 2021, and from 2021 to 2022. I've changed a lot, right? I hope for the good, maybe some for the bad, right? But the person's gonna change. But if you don't understand this, it's gonna be very frustrating and kind of isolating, right? Because you're like, oh, like this, like I met them like this, right? And I had this problem when I was like what 19, 20. Like you don't want to fall in love with. I mean, like yeah, fall in love with a person, but don't fall in love with like that year's version of that person, right? So don't fall in love with the 2022 version of the person that you meet next month, because in a year from now they're going to be different, and it's going to be hard as they're changing, you're changing, right? And then the communication is kind of like fading, and then like you're losing that like romantic thing, and they are like roommates, and then you start to hate each. It's so it's pretty tough. If we don't respect our own changes, yeah, I agree. Yeah, Elaine is a OG. And let me see what uh I see Libby's comment. I'm not gonna highlight it. It's oh my gosh. Oh man. Libby, how are you doing? Um Let me see what humans are. Yeah, but humans are confusing, but yeah, like do we want to be like one trick ponies? Like we want to be, like if humans were straightforward, life wouldn't be fun, right? Facebook you says we have both changed a lot in 20 years. Yeah, like people change, right? So I know I'm not no relationship expert, but I would imagine that it would be helpful if like you looked at core values. Like if somebody's a kind person, like if they treat waiters with respect, like if somebody's kind, that doesn't really change over time, right? Like life can get hard, or maybe they might fall on hard times, and they may not be as like they may not have much energy to engage in people, but somebody who's kind generally doesn't stray away from that, right? So like it's important to look at like certain key qualities as opposed to like situational things, right? All right, what's going on? How are you doing? uh Suzanne, when I say Suzanne, like it's Suzanne, it's Susan. Susan, I appreciate that. Remember that people change, but don't forget your boundary. Right. And this is important because if somebody, like, let's say you meet somebody and they're working like, like a regular job, and, it's going well. And all of a sudden they decide to become a YouTuber and they want to vlog everything, like it's fine that that person changed. But like if one of your boundaries is you don't want to post stuff online, then that relationship might end, right? Because that's one of your boundaries. So it doesn't mean that like you all will stay together forever. Maybe it was meant to end after 11 months, 16 months, or whatever the case is. But you still have to give people the space to change. And as I answer this question, somebody dropped a magic word in the chat so we can get to the water break. And after this, I gotta head to one meeting, and maybe I'll be able to hop on TikTok Live. That'd be my goal if I can not procrastinate with the next meeting and then whatever I have to do after that. So I'm starting to date after over a year of being single. How do I date, and how quick should I tell a man that I'm looking for something serious and to get married without scaring? All right, so uh, all right. So I'll say this: you may not have to mention it in the beginning, like, oh, I'm trying to get married, like, but there should be certain things that you say that indicate to the person that like you're not trying to like waste your time, right? So you can tell the person, "Yeah, like I'm at that stage in life where I'm trying to build with somebody, like and you can say, oh, like I'm trying to build and hopefully like have property and like like marriage. Those are things that are interest me. Say that's what I would like if the fit is right, so that way you're not like pushing it on to him. But this would require that the man that you're talking to is also ready, because in my opinion, if a guy's not ready, you're not ready. Like if you're not ready, you're not ready. Like I'm talking mentally. You can be a millionaire, billionaire. If the guy's not ready, you're just not ready. My dad told me that a couple years ago, uh, in reference to I guess whoever I was dating at the time. And he was right. That's why the OGs are. The OGs are all right. Andre, I appreciate you. Uh, and cheers. Cheers, cheers, cheers. The lady came with the cheers. Hey, appreciate y'all. Cheers. You know what time it is? All right, let me answer a couple more. Let me answer 3 more questions. Gee. I'm ready to be single, 17-year. Well, Facebook user, put yourself out there a little bit. Take your time. The average person has like 4 dating apps. You may not want to like flood all that onto you, but take your time. Tips to stay strong after a narcissistic ex. Therapy is very helpful. Sometimes you can avoid like professional help, and then also like figuring out or creating a new environment that you can exist in, right? Because if you've been with like you say you're rebounding or you're coming back from a narcissistic relationship, right? A narcissistic ex. So a lot of times the trauma that you pick up from that relationship is going to be difficult to like if you haven't like worked on yourself, Lexi. Like you're going to meet like a guy who is like coming to you with a healthy relationship, and your body's going to reject it. You're not going to be ready for it, in my opinion. Somebody's going to come to you and they're going to treat you with respect, and you're going to be like, get away from me, right? Because you're not used to that, right? Like that type of like that's foreign to you, so your body's going to reject it. So you have to like recalibrate and like recreate a version of yourself that is ready to accept something that's healthy. I don't think we talk about that a lot, but people kind of get tripped up because you've been with somebody who is, toxic, more or less, and then when something healthy comes along, you feel like you have to reject it because it's foreign to you. Like it's too good to be true. It's kind of like, when somebody's selling like a 75-inch TV for $99 at Walmart, you're like, this thing is stolen. I don't know if I should buy this thing, right? Or somebody's selling it on my Craigslist, 75-inch TV for $100. I'm like, if I give you this $100, somebody's gonna like come and arrest me. Like this is a stolen TV, Oh boy, Alexi, no problem. And keep in mind that like any work that you do right now, your future self will thank you, right? So like just by what you're saying here, I'm confident that you're gonna be all right in the next relationship. Yeah, I've been picking up on that. There is more. I have to check the analytics, but there's definitely a lot more guys in here. You're gonna have trust issues. Yeah, Libby is right. Let me see. How would you deal with dating after someone has played with your feelings for over a year? So once again, you got to take it back and do the work on yourself, right? And to be honest, like if somebody has played with your feelings for over a year, it might be difficult to say as Brayden, but like we have to take some accountability and when these things happen, right? And it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Maybe you just weren't hip to the game. You didn't know what was going on, but we have to take some accountability. If somebody has played with you for over a year, you did something, maybe not, probably not intentionally, right? But unintentionally, you did things that allowed that person to keep playing you. Like if you're talking to somebody and they don't communicate well, they only talk to you when they're happy. When they're angry, they give you the silent treatment for weeks. They ignore you, and then you're like, oh, it's their birthday, and you want to do something for them, and they're like, okay, come along, or like you kind of teach people how to treat you. That's not like a relationship. That's an everyday thing. That's his life, right? So if somebody is not like respecting you and giving you attention or doing what you would like, and if you reward negative behavior with positive things, like, oh, okay, yeah, let's hang out, like you're pretty much telling that person that, like, you as a person, like I don't matter, right? Like, we know you matter, but you're telling that person that, hey, you can go ahead and play me like a yo-yo. So we have to take some accountability. But Brady, if you've gone through this for a year and you put the work in, I'm pretty sure that, like, your next relationship, like, you'll catch on pretty quickly. You'll catch on pretty quickly. Boundaries, yeah. Someone says hard to relate. Yeah, but look, nobody teaches, like, in second grade, they teach you about, like, the 78 planets or whatever, Nobody's teaching you about this. So, like, we have to learn this stuff as adults. Renee, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. It's not judgment, it's the truth. Respect. Let me see. I'm divorced, and then had an incredibly abusive partner. Very sorry to hear that. It's been 4 years, and I finally have a wonderful partner. I never expected to be in love again. I don't know what that first thing is, but I'm just calling you Lay. Lay, I'll go ahead and give you a love of the show, so people can see that it is possible to, like, rebound, right, and get what you want. Plants are important. Yeah, they are important. And Brayden, like, once again, like I said, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, the main point, like, I'm happy I was able to tell you that, but, like, it's funny because, like, we had this conversation this morning, like, me and the guys, we were talking about, like, like, talking to girls and whatever. Like, if let me give you an example, right? If what's a good example I can give you? All right, Brayden, here's a fantastic example, right? Let's say I meet a girl who's she's a 10 out of 10. She's a baddie. Like, she's a 10 in LA and she's a 10 on the East Coast, right? Let's say I meet some amazing girl, right? And then I'm texting her every day, right? 2-3 times throughout the day. It wouldn't happen, but just follow the example, right? I'm texting her all the time, and she texts back like once or twice a week. She's like, hey, yeah, or like the person is showing that they're not interested, right? And I'm like, hey. And then I get a invite to go to some big event, right? I get an invite to go to some big Hollywood event. And I reach out to that same girl who's been ignoring me for the past month. And I'm like, hey, let's go to this event. And then she replies in like 5 seconds. Yeah, I'd love to go. Right? We go to the event and have a good time. Right? And then reach back out. They ignore you. Right? And then another cool thing happens, and they say, okay, hey, I'll come to it. Right? Like, you've taught that person, like, you're teaching that person that, hey, my time is not valuable, and that you can come and take the parts of me that you like, and you can just walk away with it. And you can do this over and over and over and over again, right? And, like, if you do that long enough, your self-esteem is going to go so low. You're going to feel so bad about yourself. And then when you finally, like, leave that girl and you start to, like, try and date somebody else, you're dating somebody, like, you've entered the dating market, right? You created your 4 dating profiles, right? But now your self-esteem is at an all-time low. So as you're trying to meet new people, like, you're already coming from, like, a low vibrational place. It's going to be hard for you to get what you want when, like, you're like when you're super low, you'll take anything, right? If that person's breathing, you're like, all right, yeah, that's it, please. So, like, over time, as we know more, we put ourselves in a better position to where we can, like, you have to you gotta respect yourself, right? Like I want people, I read some of the comments on my Facebook page. I'm like, I want people to like, I mean, whether you watch my content or maybe you like somebody else and you get that confidence from them, but like I want people to like walk like with, like chest out, like walk like you're worthy of something. Walk like walk like you're somebody worthy of love and respect and attention, which you are, right? But you have to put that best version of yourself. You have to really believe that. So, once again, we didn't learn this in second grade, but as we know more, we can do better, right? Um, let me see. Uh, yeah, because there's people. I keep hearing that, like, you can be a 10 somewhere and then come to LA and be like a 6, right? But I didn't say that, you know. I didn't say that. Uh, Ashley, Ashley, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, and I'm happy that you finally found a relationship where you can be yourself. It's possible, right? It's definitely possible. And I like what Libby said. Yeah, Brayden, everybody deserves to be treated with respect, right? So as we get these tips, right, we're gonna put ourselves back out there, and then we're gonna be like, hey, like, it's one thing to tell somebody, like, hey, you're not gonna disrespect me, right? But if you keep allowing somebody to like come and take the best parts of you and walk away, then they'll keep doing that, right? It's just it's not even human. It's just my dog. If I tell my dog, sit, and then she sits and then she gets up, she won't listen to me, right? She's gonna start like running laps around me. I don't want that. I don't want that. Um, uh, the average person. I got it from one of my good friends who's a psychiatrist at UCLA, and she ran the research. So I mean, she could be wrong, but she's a trusted source to me. So the I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Myself, my body, Mandy. Hey, it's all good. We're learning it now, and we're gonna do the best, that we can as we get the information. Yeah, Caitlin, yeah, we gotta walk with a purpose, right? Like, and even like, sometimes, like in a person with depression, like you might see like that slump posture. Even if you're going through it, like straighten your back, imagine like that version of you that's like, like you 2.0, that's happy and healthy and crushing it, right? And over time, you're gonna start getting there. Leslie, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Man, Bessie, this is what everybody should do, right? Like, get the person who allows you to be yourself. If you can be yourself, like in a relationship, then you're doing better than a lot of people in relationships. I appreciate that, Bessie. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, and then we're gonna dip out. Oh, okay, that's good. It's always an email coming. All right, y'all. I do have to dip out, but today is Tuesday. Tomorrow we'll be back here on another segment of the show. So I'm looking forward to seeing y'all then. Take care. Thank you so much for your attention, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace.